All right. So today we are diving a little deeper into Layout Pro, but specifically looking at the elements we need to create a good layout for a yearbook. What we often suggest is not to start with a blank spread, but to start with something that already exists and then to tweak it to meet your needs. And so when we say tweak it to meet your needs, that's going to mean, are we adjusting the fonts that are being used? Are we adjusting the colors that are being used? Are we adjusting how much text there is? Sometimes you're doing stories, sometimes you're not. Hopefully, most of you are doing captions, unless you're in elementary school, or at least identifications of students on photos. So you're kind of making those adjustments and making it match your theme. But there's no need to start from scratch unless it's just like something you're just naturally really, really good at. So I say we start looking at some templates and then talking about how to tweak them to work for each school. How's that sound?
Sounds perfect.
So I'm going to assume that everybody already knows what is happening here because you have watched or come to last week's meeting. And so now you're going to know the basics. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the little things. I'm going to assume you know them, and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some of those big things. So let's go ahead and grab us a template. And I'm going to grab one from these themes because I think they're a great way to get started. I like this one. Let's try this one. So I'm going to drag and drop it on the page. Okay. So here we go. We have a starting point. Now we've already talked about how you can bulk change the kind, like the font and the color and stuff like that. So we're going to kind of bypass that. And we're going to look at this more as how we can use it on the spread. So there's a few things that you want a good spread to have. Kim, can you give me one of them?
An eyeline.
An eyeline. An eyeline is really important. That's going to be what draws the two sides of the pages together. And so if you look at this little red line I have pulled down here, you can see that right here, most of the page is intercepted by a white line. And it's okay if it's occasionally not. But for the most of it, you have a good eye line there. Are you happy?
I want about 2/3 at least.
Yeah. Are you happy with that eye line?
And, these could be two separate pages. Like this one could be on volleyball, one could be on football. But I still want it. I can only look at two pages at one time. So I still want them to work together.
Correct.
Right.
Now, if you're using a pre-designed template, one thing you're going to notice is that often things don't cross the gutter. They're designed that way for the sake of pulling them on the pages so that they can work individually. They don't have to stay that way. How do you feel about things crossing the gutter, Kim?
I like them if they're not placing faces in the gutter, like information that I need. I think it draws, especially if it's a spread that's on one thing. Like if this was on Spirit Week, I kind of like something crossing the gutter. I think it brings it together even more. But some people don't ever cross the gutter, and that's fine too.
But look, that little tiny change just to make it cross the gutter, to me, made this whole top section feel like it goes together.
Right.
It doesn't feel so divided. And it's just the edge of the photo, so you're not losing content. So I like that. All right. I'm happy so far with that little change. I also want to make sure that all of my spacing is good. Now, I like my spacing between the elements within a little module to be pretty tight and then wider between them. So we have one pica here. I'm going to turn on that snap to grid we talked about last time. And so we have one pica between each of these elements. We're just going to line them up so that they have truly one pica. Okay. And if we kind of do that consistently, then you will be able to tell what belongs together and what doesn't. So all of this content belongs together. It's all spaced evenly. But then I have a broader space before I get down here to this one. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. So in addition to this eye line, we also have a pretty big rail of space here. So that space is also important for dividing the different mods. But in my opinion, this is pretty wide compared to this. I don't feel like they match. match. I might want to make a match a little bit better. So this is kind of narrower than this right here. You see that? So if you wanted to, you could take all of this content right here, pull it in a little bit, make it match. And then we'll just pull this down a little bit. And when you're doing this for real, y'all, you like count your picas and all that. I'm just not gonna sit here and count picas in front of you because that would take forever. But if I pull all this down a little bit, my rail of space and my eye line matches.
And this is something you can do if you're really looking at
Yeah.
hardcore design, but literally having just a rail here and a rail there would have been fine, even if it was a pica difference, in my opinion, because you still got this other rail on the other side here as well.
Okay. So I'm just going to center this in here. Okay. So what you're going to have here is different modules, different areas that we can put content. And we've separated them by broader spaces, and then we've identified that they belong together with tighter spacing. Right? All right. So another thing that we always want to have on a page is a dominant element. So how much bigger should the dominant element be than anything else on the page?
I think it depends on what you call a dominant element, because
Well, if you're doing a
obviously,
traditional spread without mods, you want a dominant photo that's 2 to 3 times bigger.
right,
If you're not, if you're doing modules, then you want a dominant module.
right. And so I kind of look at this top area here that you have with
Hmm.
the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 photos as a dominant module.
I do too. I do
But it's
too.
got a dominant photo in it as well.
It does. Now, I will say, like, this text is a 12 because it's a story, but this down here, this is just a lot of text. I don't need that much text. So I think I can adjust that if I want to. I'm going to pull this over so it's not overlapping that photo. That's a personal preference. I think it's harder to read. Let's talk about this font size though, size 12. How do you feel about that for a body copy?
That's perfect.
Okay, I made this 18 because on my computer screen's small, so like I can't really see it. I know you said 12, but I like 18.
For copy,
Yeah, because
good for
look,
you.
my computer's so tiny I can't see it. If I
Yeah, but it's going to be so much bigger when the book comes. You
Yeah,
don't need 18.
it is. It's really deceptive. You think that, oh, I need to make it bigger, I can't see it. But when the book comes and it's printed, suddenly you're like, oh, okay. I printed that pretty large.
Right. And there's some basic rules, and they're meant to be broken every now and then, but basic copy should be 12 point, no more than 14. I mean, that's where we're just trying to make something big because we don't have enough to write. And then basic captions should be 8 points and no more than 10.
So I'm noticing some variance here. So this one's 8, this one's 6, this one's 6. To me, 6 in a sans serif is pushing it. It can get very difficult to read. If you're going to make one that small, I would do a serif font that has little feet. It's easier to read. But to me, 6 is a little bit small. So I'm going to just go through and make sure all my fonts are the same. Now, I like to do this before I turn this template over to my students because then they're not having to guess. I'm going to go ahead and provide it to them the way that I think it needs to be. Now, can we promise they're not going to change it? No, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But let's set them up for success here. All right. So everything is okay, size 8. Now, this mod over here to me is missing something. And I think what it's missing is a headline for this mod. And I don't need all this text. It's just too much. So I'm going to instead add more photos in some way. So I could do it as regular photos. I can do it as like a Q&A with like a picture and then the name and their answer below, like this kind of. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but to me, that was just a lot of extra writing that I didn't need. So to make it easy, let's just take this, copy and paste it. That's Control C, Control V. And I'm going to move it up to the top. And I'm going to move this down. And now I have a headline. And I can stretch all this to fill out the space. How do we feel about that? Any better?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably something needs, I mean, that kind of area right there you're talking about kind of looks lost.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really, and we're trying to show not only advisors here, but students of ways to take a layout, make it your own, and make it better so it fits what you need. Okay. And
Yeah.
that's real important.
The reason I'm moving this, you notice before it was on the left and I'm putting it on the right. That's because I don't like trapped text.
And what is trap text?
All right. You're gonna use your imagination with me here for this one. If you pretend that all of the photo boxes on this page are glued down to the book, you can't move them. And the text is kind of free floating. If I were to shake this page and then rotate it and shake it again and rotate it and shake it again, could the text fall off?
All but one piece. Well, one caption. Well, no, that one would fall off. Just in that mod up the middle, the blue
Just
mod.
just the blue mod. And I think that kind of is okay because the
Because
mod
we
itself,
kind of consider that one element. So,
yes, because the mod itself could go off the top or bottom.
right.
I don't personally like, and let me rephrase that. I don't personally like it, but also it's kind of just a given rule of graphic design that you don't want to have your text trapped in the middle. You want it kind of able to breathe. You want it to be closer to the outside. So typically we tell you to design as a target. Your biggest thing is in the middle, and then we get our smaller images, and then on the outside is our text. So this is going to look a whole lot better than this because now we've trapped it, right? Um, Keep that in mind. The same with if you were to move this over here, it feels much more trapped because it's stuck in the middle. All right. So we have no trap text. We have an eye line. We have that nice rail of space that's pretty even with the others. The space within our mods is pretty tight. We have a dominant. We have fixed our font sizes. We've got some nice mods. I think we're doing pretty good. What do you think?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So what I would then do once I have this saved is I would actually go in and redo it, repurpose it using some of the same things. So maybe that means mirroring it and then tweaking things to make them fit, like left justifying where it needs to and whatnot. But it also might mean doing things like taking this off and taking this off and leaving the rest of it and designing something new to go over here. I've repurposed part of the page and I'm redoing part of the page. And it can give you some options so that you're not having to create everything from scratch and to give you some consistency.
One
So
of the
let's
things
say,
I really like to teach guys is that, like, if you had this you really liked, then go out and look for something you'd like to see to fill that empty space.
right.
And
So,
when you find it, if it's a template, like another template, you can put it on a page, copy part of it, paste it on here, or you can do what Kim does sometimes, which is lock this down
that's what I was getting ready to say. What if I lock this,
and then pull the new
save it,
template over.
and
Then
then
you better find something that's halfway decent.
I'm
Like,
going to go look for something that I like that would kind of fit that space. So
right.
I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look at some different options and say, all right, what else is out there that I could maybe use? And it might be from a totally different, maybe it's from the page surfer. And I'm just going to go to some student life and I'm going to scroll through and try to find something that I like
And it
here.
could be on the left side or the right side at this point, or in the middle. So you
That's
just have to find.
correct. So like, let's say I like, this little
Uh
bar
huh.
right here, right? So I could click and drag that on the page and then just delete everything else. And now I have this content on the page that I can place and move and do whatever I want to with it. So I can kind of mix and match. And I would look for something that, either fit the space decently or that I could manipulate pretty easily to fit the space because I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. Like these, whatever that thing is, that's kind of fun. Let's see what that is. Delete everything we don't want. We'll take all of this. I have no idea what this is. It's kind of wild. Let's see.
Yeah. I mean, it's not perfect, but I
Oh,
hope you guys get the gist
I
is
do.
that you can mix and match the templates without having to redraw things yourself. Like that's a big tip for most people working in Yearbook Avenue. They'll like think they have to draw something, and you don't. You can find things that are out there, or you can draw some things. I was working with a school this morning, and they tended to just put pictures on the page before they had any kind of design. And I was trying to teach them that that's the worst thing you can do. Like your pictures, you want to do your design and then find the best pictures so that we're not just throwing them on there and then trying to design around them. We found that students will make things way too big.
And their spacing is always funky.
Right.
It's not even. And having nice, even spacing makes such a big difference in having it all look intentional and like it goes together.
And you don't have to have everything the same amount of spacing. You might have one mod where they're only a point apart, and another mod that's a half a pica that pictures are apart,
But
and
within
another
each
mod,
mod, there's
right.
consistency. Mhm.
So you kind of think of each little mod area as its own page.
Yeah.
You know, like this little mod is my own page, and I have to make everything right in that little mod with my headline, your caption, and all that.
So another thing that I like to do that a template allows for more than just putting it on the page is, I always go back to coverage. And when you just start putting things on the page, you tend to fill it up pretty fast. Is it with clip art? Is it with a giant photo that you just dropped on the page? And you feel a little trapped. If you start with a template and in your mind you think, okay, I need to have X number of photos to cover this piece of content, and you design it that way, then you're more likely to put the pictures in the right sizing and the right spacing so that your coverage is better.
Yeah. So, how about some of the other little things that are in Yearbook Avenue or Layout Pro? Are there some things that maybe people don't know about, like how to wrap text or how
Yes.
to use Snap Edit or how to save this as a template?
Yes.
How to
So
save a left side and a right side, things that would make your life so much easier.
so let's start by saving this as a template. So I'm going to go to File, Save as a Template, and I can name it Student Life One. It doesn't matter what you name it. And you can save both sides or you can save them individually. It's up to you. And now this is a template under Custom My Templates. And I have clearly been practicing with this a lot, but here it is, Student Life One. And I can click to open it and then I can edit it. If you want to drop it on a page, you can just click and drag and drop it on a page. And you're not having to redo all that work about the sizing and about the colors and about the spacing. You've done it. All right, so the next thing that I want to do, I want to show you spacing and alignment with the button because this is pretty magical. So for example, if I want to make sure that all of these circles are properly aligned, I'm going to take this background off so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to click to highlight all of them. And then I'm going to use this button right here, transform. And I can change the rotation manually. And this was amazing for me when I learned it. Maybe I should be doing this on a square and not a
It's
circle.
okay.
I'm
It's
going to
all
go
right.
change shape and make it a rectangle, and then you can see rotate them. And this was pretty amazing to me because I remember I used to I would be turning it and I would try to guess if it was about the right, like if I'm turning this text, is it lined up? Well, now you can tell. You can look at it. It's 28 degrees rotated. That's 30 degrees rotated. So I need to go to 30 degrees rotated. And it'll rotate them all. I can also adjust my spacing. So now that I've rotated them, I really wanted them, kind of evenly spaced. I didn't like them overlapping. So this time I'm going to pull up my arrangement tool and I'm going to distribute horizontally. But what if I want to distribute them horizontally with specific spacing? Like I want them to be one pica apart.
And you're going to use spacing and you're going to put one, and
Now,
then you're going to do them.
and they're going to make them one spacing apart. Now, this one is important that you do one P, lowercase p, because it means point. There's points and there's picas. These little dots right here are points. And no, picas. And there's 6 points in a pica, something like
12.
that. 12 points in a pica.
And when you just log into Yearbook Avenue, your grid is set up on the half pica.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you haven't messed with it.
Right. If you have not changed it, it is set up on the half pica.
So
So two
you
of
can
those boxes is one pica.
you can play with this if you want to. But I like to be able to do this to have intentional spacing. So if I know I want everything to be one pica apart, I can select these. But you do have to do a 1P, not a one dot.
Right.
And it has to be a lowercase p.
There's 12 points in a pica. Okay.
So there's 6 points in a box, but
Right.
12 points in a pica.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.
That's why a 12-point font should be two boxes. Once you know that, there's 6 picas in an inch. Yeah, I've been doing math. Woohoo! Okay.
Me and math is a struggle, but that's okay. All right, so another thing I want to show you that's going to sound so obvious, but you'd be amazed how many people get it wrong, is putting a background on the page. Do not just take a box and do this. Because what happens is when you go to select things to line them up, you've also chosen the background. So instead, what I want you to do is right click, change background, and then choose your color. Now you can still see your grid lines. They're not going to print. You can still turn them off. You can now drag and select multiple items and move them around, and you're not moving the background. You're not messing the background up, and it doesn't get in your way. It also does a perfect bleed, so it goes all the way off the page, and you don't end up with a weird little white line because you didn't quite get it to the edge.
Right.
If you want to remove it, just click remove.
And that's real easy to use. Your images, your image library, the clip art, any kind of background. You always want to make it a background so that you really don't have an issue. Now, if you're only going to use it on the fourth of a page, you draw it on the fourth of a page and lock it.
Yes, that's a good point. So let's talk about locking. When I put a shape on the page, like let's say I want the top half of this to be a color and I don't want any of the kids to move it. So I'm going to move it all the way to the back and I'm going to lock it. Now my lock options are to lock it totally or to lock the position and size. Now that means they could change the color. They can't move it. Or to lock the content, meaning they can move it, but they can't change the color. So I usually just lock all. But if you're in a situation where you have made templates and you want to give them some freedom, but you don't want them messing your stuff up, lock position and size is great.
Let's do some text wrap.
Okay. So text wrap is not hard, but it's tricky because you need two things to happen. The first thing that you need to happen is that you need to tell the text you want it to wrap. So let's do that. So I'm going to tell this text then I want it to wrap. So I'm going to come up here to Format and Effects, Text Wrapping, and Text Wrapping is checked. So, but it's not wrapping around the text because I haven't told it what to wrap around yet. So if I want it to wrap around this, I'm going to select this picture. I'm going to go to Format and Effects. I'm going to choose Text Wrapping, and I'm going to tell it how I want it to wrap. Right now, I don't want it to wrap around that at all, but other times I might. So there you go. Now we're doing text wrapping. Now, what you're going to notice is it messed up this student name right here because text wrapping is turned on for that too. So if I turn that off, now I can move this around without bothering it, but this still wraps, which is why there's two steps, because sometimes you want one thing to wrap and the other thing not to.
Good, 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 good.
All right. What else?
I don't see any questions in the chat, so we must be doing a daggone good job.
I mean,
I was just thinking here, like, what makes, I always try to teach kids what makes a good spread. And if you're an advisor on here and you want to teach it to them, I like to go to the homepage in Yearbook Avenue. And then I like to go down to gallery. And then I like to pull up a page. And I kind of usually try to plan ahead. So let's pull up, go back at the top, Sarah. Pull up the page with the girl in the water, the one at Providence High School. And so what I'll do is I want to talk to the students about the things that this spread has that make it a really enjoyable spread to look at. So one is the eye line, right?
spacing
Two is the great spacing, equal spacing within each mod. All right. And then number 3 to me is the color. Color is so important in design. And too many times we tend to mess up the color because what we're doing is just throwing something on a background. It's like I told some students today. I said, don't put anything on the background. Nothing. It's
Design the page and
done.
then decide what you want your colors to be.
So then I'll pull up this one and I'll ask the students, where's the eye line? And they'll show me. Show me some spacing that's tight. And they might show me on the left. Show me some spacing that is like half a pica apart. And they might show me this. And then I'll ask them why they chose yellow. And they get it. They get it right away. They're like, oh, I see. The ball's yellow. And they're not trying to force color on a page. And I think this is what makes 2 pages really good. They can be on 2 separate things. You can have 4 separate things, but you really want to look at your color to accentuate, not take away.
I also like to sometimes look at pages that I don't like and talk
Yeah, I
about
like that one.
why do I not like it and what could I have done better.
Right.
And sometimes looking at a negative is almost as impactful as looking at a positive. Not always, but sometimes it's good to look at a little bit of everything.
Right. I mean, it's got an eye line. It's got a variety of spacing.
There's no dominant element though, and I feel like that's where we get lost.
It really doesn't have a dominant,
Other
and
than
I can
whatever
see the
this
red
is.
while they used it, but I don't know why they used the blue and the 2 blues and the red.
I guess it's this, but it gets lost.
Yeah, it does get lost. And so I think the gallery is a good way to pull up layouts and say, do we have the 4 things? Do we have an eye line? Do we have spacing correct? Do we have our color selected correctly? And does our font work with what we're trying to do and the sizes of our fonts? Like I've seen, like one example I always bring back is if you have 2 separate pages, but it's a spread, do not put both of your headlines at the top side by side.
Yes.
Because we read left to right, right? So if I have football, go get a touchdown, catch the whatever, field hockey day, I read that across the whole spread. I don't need 2 headlines that are the same at the top or the bottom. I need to make sure I mix that up so I know that these are 2 separate things, but they're still on the same spread.
Speaking of that, is football and field hockey, are those good headlines?
No. That's because it's the end of the day and Kim has no headline knowledge right now.
I knew you were just trying to give an example, but most people do that. They'll put football, they'll put cheerleading, they'll put whatever it is. And I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's just not creative. It's kind of nice to like break that mold a little bit and do something more fun. Use some idioms, do some play on words with some other, football phrases or whatever. Those are a lot more fun.
Sarah, could we use like some of our AI at that point if we're just having a brain day?
Heck yeah. They're great for headlines.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are good at using it. I'm not good at using it. I'm so bad at using it. I've got to learn.
I always forget.
But the kids are really good at using it. And so coming up with great headlines with certain words, if you could say, give me an idiom or a phrase with the word.
I just said, what are a few great headlines for football in a yearbook? Friday night lights shine bright. Panther pride under the lights. Chasing victory 1 yard at a time.
The only thing about AI headlines is they tend to be like more newspapery. They're long.
Right.
But I want a 3-word headline.
Yeah, all in for the win. Now that would work. So you kind of got to play with that and kind of see what size you're looking for. Or if that could have been a sub headline, like Friday Night Lights, and then the sub headline might have been Shine Bright. So that would work in that case. Yeah. Do you know what I use Chat GPT for? Because I can never write a congratulations card.
Like graduation or wedding or whatever you have them write with you.
That's the only way I've ever used it. As I have it write me something, I take parts of it and it makes me sound better.
That's so smart.
Yeah. All right, let's go back and put your layout back up, Sarah.
Okay.
So one of the things we haven't talked about, and I think we've touched on it just a little bit in the first video, was Snap Edit.
All right, so let's start with this piece of clip art. It is black, solid black. And anytime you have something that's solid black or solid white, you can change the color of it. So let's say I wanted this to be orange, but I wanted it to be the specific orange that I wanted. I don't want a generic orange. So I'm not going to go to Google and find orange paw print, right? I want this paw print. I want my color orange. So I'm going to click Snap Edit. And then I'm going to come down here to colorize. And if it's black, I can colorize it. And I can find my orange. And now I have an orange paw print that's in my orange. So
If it was
colorize.
orange and you changed it to red, it takes that orange, it keeps the orange, so it doesn't really make it red. It just
But
combines two colors.
But if you black and white it and you decrease the brightness and you save it, you now have a black one, and then you can start over with orange and it works.
Exactly. Just keep in mind that it needs to be black before you change it, because if not, you're still
Mixing the colors.
mixing two colors, right?
If it's white, then you would, instead of doing colorize, you would do an overlay. Would work the same way. So if I do an overlay right now over black, anything you lay over black is not really going to show up. But if I made it white and save it, and then I go in, colorize isn't going to do anything because it's colorizing the dark parts, but overlay will. So if you have something white, you can turn it to color with overlay. And if you have something black, you can turn it with colorize.
That's right.
All right, now let's go look at a photo. Let's take that
I think
out.
that's really important because I get that all the time. Can you make me a certain color paw print or something? And I'm like, you can do that. That's easy.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Where on earth have we hidden
They're
pictures?
under test.
Okay. All right, so we're going to start right here. This is Jasper. He's adorable. It was his birthday. Now, let me start by asking you this, Kim. What color would you make the accent color on this page?
That pretty blue.
Me too, because it's in the UCLA sweatshirt. It's in the dog thing. It's in the flame of the candle. Very nice. Okay. So I'm going to edit this photo. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go to Snap Edit, and I can make changes. Now, I find personally the easiest way to adjust color is with levels. So I click levels, and then I can come over here if I want to brighten it up, and I can kind of tweak this a little bit to get it where I want it. And there is no magic. Well, there probably is, but I don't know it. So,
No, there really isn't. Not with the leveling.
okay. But to me, I can play with this a little bit. Now, you don't want to go crazy. Anytime you go extreme, you're going to start getting something really wild looking, you know?
As you can see in the image library to the left where I made it really, really overexposed.
Yeah. So, but I do like being able to kind of like play with it a little bit and get me a little bit more control.
A little bit more contrast, yeah.
Now, you can also play with the contrast alone, which is going to make the difference. Contrast makes the difference between black and white more or less noticeable. So here it's got a lot more white in it. It's less noticeable. And here you're seeing a lot more difference. The brights are brighter. The darks are darker. Whereas here they're closer to the same. That's what contrast does. And brightness is literally going to brighten it, but you are at the risk of washing it out because it's just adding a lot of light. And it's adding a lot of light everywhere, not in specific places. And so
Right.
sometimes by adjusting that, it can be too harsh. That's why I say I like the levels, because I feel like I have a little bit more control there. Sepia is going to give you that gray, that brown tone. And then black and white is, of course, going to give you black and white. So that's kind of some basic stuff there. What I wish I had do we have I need a basketball picture or something where it's just like obviously too orange.
No, I don't have any in there.
But sometimes you can have a photo that's just obviously too warm toned. And that will allow you to pull some of that orange out and kind of clean it up a little bit. So it's a little bit easier to see. So let's do this. Let's pull Jasper in. No, I don't want to pull Jasper. I don't want to pull Sarah in. All right, let's pull Sarah in. And I would like this to be a cutout. So the reason I chose Sarah over Jasper is because of the background. I could probably do Jasper, but the edges are going to be hard because they kind of blend in with the pillow and they're kind of like, they're not smooth, right? So that's harder. Sarah's hair is pulled back. It's a white wall. It's pretty clean. I think I can do this one. So I'm going to select my photo. I'm going to go to Snap Edit and I'm going to go to Mask. Now, A mask, think of it just like wearing a mask on Halloween. You put the mask on your face, it hides your face. The only part of the face you can see is where there's holes. So I can see the eyes because there's a hole in the mask. So I'm going to paint a mask on this picture, and anything that I don't turn into a mask is going to be visible through the mask. In the meantime, I'm hiding things. So I'm going to start with the eraser. I can play with my brush size, and I can come in here and erase the background. So I'm going to do kind of the mass of it. I'm not going to worry about getting too close. I'm just going to do the gist of it. And maybe I decide that I don't care about her legs being in there. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to cut that off. Okay. Now, I can get closer by zooming in. And if you want to move around, if you use your space bar, you can pull. And it took me an embarrassingly long time to learn about the space bar trick to move it. I was like, I'm zooming in, but it won't let me go to the bottom. That's how you do it. Right now, the Smart Eraser. The Smart Eraser is the same thing, except where the eraser erases everything in the circle. The Smart Eraser erases everything in the circle that matches what's in this little black dot right in the middle of the circle. So if I hover this over her leg, everything that is the skin tone that is under that black dot and is within the outside dotted circle will be erased. And that's it.
Her skin is different colors, so that's why that's going to look like that.
So the reason this works great is because I can come over here and say, I don't want the couch, but I do want her leg. So even though her leg is in that circle, because the color of her leg is not under that little black dot, it will not erase it. So I can kind of play around until I get all of that.
Yeah, that actually worked really well that time.
Yeah. Now, I messed up. See, I accidentally got a little bit of her skin. So if I want to put that back, I have an uneraser and I can unerase it, put it back. Now, this is not foolproof. If I had the option to use Photoshop, which is a one click for a decent photo, I'm going to use Photoshop.
Even Adobe Express. There's so many different things that are online now and you can buy really cheap.
Canva can do it.
Because students tend, when they use this, to go too fast and they leave a lot of jagged edges.
So I'm just doing like one click around. I'm not dragging it. I'm doing one click to pick up that color. I got some of Austin.
Well, you got her shoulder.
Unerase.
There you go.
All right. So let's go back to my Smart Eraser. So I can kind of go around. It's not perfect. I'm telling you, like, this is not the end all be all. And we're not going to claim it is, but it is an option. Save. And I now have a cutout of Sarah.
Now let's talk about cutouts. Should people float?
Personally, no. I've never met anybody who could float.
That looks like an Aladdin thing right there.
Yeah.
So what
you can anchor it on something.
You have to anchor cutouts. Like feet need to be like standing on something. People need to be leaning against something. People need to be squatted or sitting on something. You want to make sure that that is not looking like it was just like floating on the page. Just try not to float. It looks so much better if you anchor it to a picture, if you anchor it to text, anything that gives it a new look. See, so much better than her just floating. So cutouts need to be planned. And a lot of times I see that people do cutouts, but they are just a cutout and a quote, a cutout and a quote, a cutout and a quote, but nothing is anchored.
I had somebody ask me one time if I could do a cutout of a person sitting on a couch and in front of them was a coffee table. And it would kind of be like if I took this photo and did a cutout of it without cutting her legs off. Well, was she doing Indian style in the air and her foot got cut off? Like, yeah, it's not logical. It just doesn't make sense.
And so, you don't want to have a cutout with no feet. Like I've seen that too, where kids just like cut them off at the knees or cut them off at the feet.
I've always been told that you're not supposed to cut photos off at the joint. Like if you're going to crop the photo, don't crop it at a joint. Crop it at the waist, not the hips. Crop it at the thighs, not the knees.
Right. Exactly. just makes a better photo and doesn't look strange. Okay. Now, Sarah, you're looking at it and I can't see, but is there anything else that would maybe help people? Because I really want them to go practice templates. I want them to practice using what's there and then making it their own. Okay. And I think that's just real important for everybody is to just don't start with nothing. Um, it just is, I don't do it.
I would say don't start with nothing. I would say make sure you have an eye line. Be aware of your spacing and make it intentional and not haphazard. Be aware of your font sizes. Make sure that they are appropriate. We said a size 12 for your copy, a size 8 to 10 for your captions, and whatever you want for your headlines. Um, your colors, choosing them either based on your theme colors or based on the photos in the picture. Having a dominant element, either a dominant photo or a dominant mod, depending on which way you're going. Avoid trapped text. Keep faces out of the gutter, but don't be afraid to use the gutter. What else?
I mean, I think that's pretty good. I think that if you guys want to use this and show them to your students, they might see some things that they didn't know they could do. Um, and we'll probably do one more in a few weeks on spell check and things that might be something you want to do after you kind of get a
Maybe
spread
maybe like
going.
before you submit your pages
Yeah. Like
situation.
how to find things that are missing that won't let you submit and stuff like that. Okay.
How about unfiltered? Does that look like a good one to start with?
Kind of what I've been today.
Unfiltered.